throughout his career. So he has come into my thought. Immediately I contacted my student. He readily accepted to come forward. So in this connection, I must thank Mr. Sandeep uh, for your ready acceptance. Okay, so and I thank our management, principal sir, HOD sir, faculty, and my dear students who are all joining this meeting. And I congratulate for your participation. And to say a few words about Mr. Sandeep, I used to call him SS Kumar. Actually, his full name is Sandeep Srinivas Kumar Indraganti. So I used to call him SS Kumar. So nice to see you, Sandeep. And the same guy has already interacted with our IT students, I think last year. Am I right, Sandeep?
Yes, sir, absolutely, yes.
Yeah, okay, fine. So I hope all the participants, this webinar will definitely enhance your technical, coding skills, and it will get rid of the coding phobia. Definitely, you will do better in coding in the future placements. So get benefit out of this webinar. And if you have any queries, you just, as Sandeep said, you just
No problem.
Yeah, that's a network connectivity problem. Okay, I think that's fine. I think what we can do is we can get started. So I'll just introduce myself. Like, I'm Sandeep. Hello everyone. A very good morning to all of you folks, and thanks for joining this session. I am Sandeep Srinivas. So I am a 2010 batch passed out in the electronics and instrumentation department, and I worked closely with Mr. M. Ravikumar sir, and thanks for him for conducting this session. And I know many of you folks, all the faculty joined this session. Vamsi Krishna Garu, I know very well, like all the faculty here who joined the session.
I'm very sorry. Once again, I'm very sorry.
That's fine,
so
sir.
As soon as
I'll start introducing myself, and then I'll take up this session, sir.
Okay, no issue.
Okay.
You can start now, Sandeep. Welcome to the session.
Thanks a lot. Like, first, Ravikumar, Mr. M. Ravikumar Garu, like, thanks a lot for giving me this opportunity for this. So today's session is basically, so before starting today's session, I just have a suggestion for you guys. Like, if you are facing any network problems, I would suggest to turn off the video for you guys, so that your bandwidth will not be consumed for the video. So this is just a suggestion. So let's get started about this session. So this session is basically what we are going to talk about is role for problem solving and coding in placements.
Already running on that, madam. Already started session. And we enable JL, madam.
Okay. So what I did is I just muted others' volume so that people can hear what I'm saying. Feel free if you guys wanted to talk anything or interrupt me anything, have a question, anything, you just go and unmute yourself and then talk here. So yeah, the session is basically about role for problem solving and coding in placements. And so basically what we are going to talk about this session is, I hope everyone was able to see my screen shared. Let me know if you guys have any trouble in accessing the screen. Sir Ravikumar sir, were you able to see my screen?
Yeah. Yes,
okay.
Sandeep.
Cool. What we are going to talk about in this 1 hour session is, we are going to see like who are the intended audience for this session. I mean, why are we doing this session for a non-CS background students, right? So we're going to talk about the importance of computer science in every engineering graduate. It's not just about computer science. It's about like all the other engineering graduates. And we're going to talk about the importance of software. What is the future of software? What is the future of computers? And what is the importance of programming? And then we're going to look at some of the real-time articles published by famous publishers. So these publishers are pretty well known in the world. Everyone knows about, and what they produce. The data is apt and correct. And we're going to do some research about some of the metrics, and we will talk about what is the current situation, and then evaluate ourselves whether do we agree with the data or do we disagree with the data. We're going to do that analysis today, and then we will talk about some of the metrics basically for the young graduates. Those are getting hired in India. So what is the percentage of graduates are getting hired in India? What are the pros and cons, and how can we improve the hiring count? Those kind of things. And we'll talk about product versus service-based companies in this session, and the pay, growth, or the life inside those companies, and the available jobs in the market. So one of the reason why I brought it like product versus service-based companies, most of the people doesn't know the real difference between them. At least I didn't know this like when I graduated in the 2010, and I strongly feel that there are a lot of people who are in the same state doesn't know real difference and what's happening in the real world. That's the reason I wanted to talk a few minutes about product versus service-based companies. And then once we look into those data, then we're gonna question ourselves whether is this the right path that we are going to take, and what do you want it to be in future, and what is the things that you wanted to put in practice if you really wanted to be successful, right? And we need to see like how to believe in ourselves, and we're going to talk about it in a little while. The other thing is the next thing we are also going to talk about what are the requirements to get into a top product-based companies. Right? Even some people know about the product-based companies, and most of the folks doesn't know what they really expect from the college graduates. So we're going to talk about it today, and then we are going to look at it some of the real examples, how to improve our logical thinking, and how data plays a bigger role in campus placements or success. And we're going to lay out a future plan for all our graduates today, so that we can practice the plan for the next few years. At least by the time you guys get graduation done, you will all be become a very good successful engineers, and you'll be able to meet the requirements that product companies are looking for you. So we're going to talk about that, and we're going to also dive deep into some of the steps. Particularly like when I say what are the steps that we need to follow regarding coding or data structures or algorithms, it's easy to talk these terms, but it's really difficult to follow them in future. So we are going to dive deep and take up some of the steps. How can we really practice this in our day-to-day life? We're going to do that now, and then at last, we are going to talk about the available resources. What do we have currently for the students to make use of, and we're going to talk about a successful plan, and we're going to talk about some of the suggestions basically to avoid frustration, and then we'll close out with questions. So this is a high level that the things that we will be doing this session. So the intention of this session is basically it's mainly for the students. It's really, believe me guys, it's a really important thing that every student has to know these things, and you will realize how important is this after you practice this. So please pay attention to this, and if you get any question, we'll have enough time for this. And the other thing that I wanted to tell you is language is not particular. If some of you doesn't get what I'm saying, feel free to ask me. I'm a Teluguite. I can talk Telugu very good. So I can basically explain you in Telugu rather than in English. So I don't have any problem doing that. So my intention is for you to get what I'm saying and put it into practice. That's all that's all my requirement. Okay, let's get started. Okay, let's talk about like why do non-CS students need coding and problem solving. So when I take this session, when I talk about problem solving or coding, the first question that asks from students, most of the students ask this question. I'm a non-CS graduate. I'm not studying computer science, and I'm an EC or a mechanical or a space student, a space engineering student. Why do I need to learn coding? Why do I need to know the problem solving? So this is my answer for you guys. Like, there is software everywhere in the world. So whatever you take, there is software involved, right? So you can never assume a world without a software. So there won't be existing of mankind without a software. So with whatever the devices that you use today, whatever the things that you see today in your daily life requires a software. Irrelevant of whether it is a electronic thing or it's a mechanical thing or it's something that we're going to talk about soon, it needs a software, and everyone needs to know coding. That's a bare minimum requirement for any engineering graduate. I'm going to talk about like some things that I have seen during my past 10 years of experience. So during my first year after my graduation, I worked in a company called Siemens Product Lifecycle Management. Hello. Where they make a software called Unigraphics NX.
Hello.
It's completely.
నీ వాయిస్ అక్కడ వాయిస్ షట్ ఆన్ లో ఉంది, నీ దగ్గర వాయిస్ రాకుండా చూసుకో. ఓకేనా?
Let me. I'm just muting. Okay. All right. So I would kindly request you basically to mute yourself so that you will hear my voice clearly. Okay. Thank you. So yeah, we are talking about a software called Unigraphics NX. So that's my first company where I worked, and it's a AutoCAD software. None of the electronics engineers or someone from the CS background use that software. It's a completely AutoCAD. I think if you know a little bit about mechanical knowledge, you will know about this software AutoCAD. What this software is, basically, you will do a 3D design in this particular software, and then you will give that 3D design drawing to some CNC machines, and then you're going to manufacture basically the product that for which you have really had a drawing. So this is completely a software which is related to a mechanical. So the company which I worked for, which is Siemens PLM, those guys hire mechanical engineers, only mechanical and electrical engineers from the premier institutes. All I have seen, like 98% of the company is mechanical and electrical graduates from IITs and NITs. Why do they need mechanical engineers for doing a software, right? This is a good question, because the software needs a mechanical knowledge, right? Inbuilt intelligence is built into the software so that it detects whether whatever the drawing that you have made is really manufacturable or not. The software need to have that intelligence, and to build that intelligence to the software, you need to really have a mechanical knowledge, because it's a mechanical software. You need to know about solid geometry, you need to know about machine design, you need to know about a lot of mechanical subjects, and that's the reason they hire 98% of the company is mechanical engineers. So they come there, they learn coding, they know data structures, they know algorithms, but more like they are basically mechanical engineers. So this is one of the good example I can say where mechanical engineers need to be coders. Let's talk about some of the electronic things, right? We know we all use mobiles, we all use computers, semiconductor industry. Even the cathode ray oscilloscope that you use in your electronic labs is made up of some kind of semiconductor and a software chip. It has some code inside that it runs, right? That is a software, right? It might be assembly instructions or some code which is embedded into that software, but eventually it's a software. It's taking your instructions and producing some output. That is where we need electronics engineers, right? People doesn't know who are non-electronics engineers doesn't know all these things about a microcontroller. They don't know about mechanical engineer doesn't know about microcontroller. So to build a software that goes inside a mobiles or computers, you need people from electronics background. Otherwise, we are not going to do that. So this is where electronic industry needs people from electronic background, and they need to know coding. Otherwise, they can't do this. So, and if you see about there are a couple of other products like Google Maps and Google Earth, Blue Origin. Blue Origin is a company that AWS owns. It's the company that I work for. It's basically they mostly hire engineers from space engineering. There is a space engineering department, and they own that. Most of the companies who basically the Blue Origin, they hire people from space engineering, aeronautical engineering. Why do they need that? Is because they need their knowledge. So there are like similar other areas like this. If you take Hindustan Aeronautic Limited or Boeing or any aircraft industries, they own some kind of software, and they basically hire people from aeronautical engineering, the background. So what I'm going to say here is basically, irrespective of your background, whether it is your electronics or a mechanical or something biomedical engineering, I would say coding is must in this modern world. If you don't know the coding, you can't really turn out your ideas into real world solutions. That's the gap that you are not going to fill if you don't know coding. So you have to know coding, and that's a bare minimum requirement. So I think after this, like I hope like everyone understands the importance of the coding algorithm, irrespective of their background, whether it's a CS or a non-CS. When I say CS, it's a computer science. It's a computer science or non-computer science background students. They need to know coding and they need to know programming. And when you talk about programming, right? Programming is just a tool that to present your solutions to solve real world problems. Okay, it's just a tool. You can use any programming. It doesn't need to be a C, C++, or Java, any programming. It's just that because systems need some kind of programming, and if you wanted to turn out your ideas to real-time code or a real-time solution, and you wanted to embed that into some kind of system, you need a programming basically, and that's just a tool. Don't think of programming as a ghost or something like that. It's a tool, and you need tool. You need that tool basically if you wanted to transform your electronics or mechanical knowledge to basically to solve the real world problems. I'll talk about one good example here. Like when you are going on the road, you must have seen the traffic signals, right? So the traffic signals have some kind of software. You think that's a very simple thing, right? But it's very difficult to write code for traffic signals. Think about you wanted to basically have a traffic signal logic for a junction with 6 roads joining together. It's really tough, right? If you wanted to execute the same thing in an 8-road junction, it's a very tough. And you see the traffic lights operating every day throughout when you walk on the roads, you see the traffic lights. It's not so easy to do that coding. And that is nothing to do with computer science, right? It's just a normal use case that we need for everyday life. If something goes wrong with the traffic signals, it would go really bad. So there will be a lot of accidents. Right? So this is one of the real world example where you see the need for code, the need for logic, the need for software. You don't need to be a computer expert to write code for a traffic signal, right? You just need to understand the requirements, understand the data, what it needs, and you wanted to present your solution by using some code. So one other example I wanted to give you. If you think about mathematical number series, right? I think pretty much you know about exponential series or logarithmic series or so I think this is nothing but a mathematics, right? Mathematical series, right? And there are a lot of real problems you just solve with these kind of number series. I'll talk about those real-time exampple. So every computer science algorithm, there is a term in the computer science called Big O notification. It's just like it is basically measuring the time complexity of the algorithm or the code that you write. meaning how much time, how efficient is the code that you write, or how much time it's going to execute. And computer science graduates, they measure with a term called BIGO. That's just nothing but your number series. It's whether it's a logarithmic or whether it is basically an exponential, it's just a number series. So here I'm emphasizing one more time, computer science is just nothing but mathematics. If you don't know really about mathematics, you can't really solve a very complex computer science problems. So here, mathematics, every engineer needs mathematics, irrespective of their background, electronics or electrical. So if you agree on that, then you have to agree on the fact that you need coding as well. Right. So these are some of the things I just wanted to bring to you guys, because I know a lot of people come to me saying that I wanted to go for civil services, then why do I need coding? I'm saying today very confidently, even if you wanted to do civil services or you wanted to go in some government sectors, right? You need to have ability to solve problems, right? All these are real. As I said, the simple problem, like we have a COVID situation today, right? And the people who are dealing with the COVID situations need to collect about a lot of data, process data. They need to come up with some kind of good solutions, or that's a kind of problem solving. This is a real-time problem, the COVID that we have. And people who are in the administrative services, they need to have real logic, and this knowing coding or the problems or the data structures is a very big asset to them. I'm pretty much sure I can confidently say that people who are in the administrative department, who are able to think very well, are aware of all these mathematical things. They know pretty well about number series. They know pretty well about those kind of problems and how to solve them. So just summarizing this slide, what I'm going to say here is just take out, if you have a thought like I'm electronics and I'm a mechanical student and I don't need to learn about coding, then that's something wrong, and you won't be successful if you think like that. You need coding, you need problem solving, and you need to know how to solve complex problems. And we're going to talk about how to become expertise in the problem solving. Right. Okay, I'll talk about, I know like a lot of people don't trust me if I say like, people from India or college graduates are not up to the mark. I experienced myself when I came out of the college in 2010, right? I learned these things with really, really hard. No one told me. And I know that I'm talking facts, but this is something just for you guys, for the students. You see, these are some of the very popular articles. They don't say a lie, right? So you see that this is an article from the 2018 Economic Times, where they say 94% of the engineering graduates are not fit for hiring. This is a very popular article that says, and when you go through this article, so they say like the top 10 IT companies take only 6% of engineering graduates. What's happening to 94%? Rest of the 94%, what is happening? Where are they going? So this is a real-time data that I'm presenting you, so that you have to believe this. You have to believe that there is some knowledge gap there. Yes, sir. Ravikumar sir had some questions.
Sandeep, could you please share the?
Okay, I think he's looking for. Are you guys able to see the presentation? Yes or no? Someone can raise a hand. Okay, cool. Yeah, I think he's asking for source. I have the source in this in the below link. Basically, if you see in the PPT, from where did I collect this data? I'll share you the source. So this is one truth, basically, where 94% of the engineering graduates are not fit for hiring, which is true, and I agree with the fact. I'll talk in a second why I agree with this fact. So this is one of the articles. So this one is from 2018 and this one is from 2019. And the below link here, you'll see basically, if you wanted to read the complete article, you can go to this below link and you can read it after the session. So this is an article from 2019 March, so which is 1 year after, right? You still see India's computer science graduates high in quantity and low in quality. Finds a study, which is, again, I agree with this. It is 100% true. So if you see, this article is talking about an estimated 500,000 of jobs in this field will be created within next decade by 2024. And then what are we going to do with the jobs? They'll be just created and lying around if you don't really have that kind of expertise, right? So this is again a very popular article. So the link is here, as I said. If you wanted to go read the complete article, you can read it after this one. So there is one more video. So I wanted to share. I think there is one more article. This is from Wall Street Journal, which is a very popular article. This is from 2020, which is like very recently. So this is 1 year, 2 years back, and this one is 1 year, and this is very recent. Let's see. We don't need to go through all this video completely, but let's see what they're saying. I just wanted to play this for a very few minutes. Let's see. Okay, so I'm going to pause here a little bit. So what is this guy saying in this article is, it's the same thing whatever the previous article says. There are lot many jobs coming, and there is a scarcity for real talent in India, which is again true. And if you see what this guy is blaming the faculty, right? I think it's not really true. It's not really true. I haven't seen a faculty basically, who is doing something just for money. I haven't seen ever in my life from my last, 10 years of experience. I haven't seen, because every faculty tries his best to give his best to the students, and this guy is just blaming the faculty. And I definitely don't agree with this. So, okay, if not the faculty, so where is the problem? So I'll tell you where is the problem. The problem is with the students. The problem is with the students. I say 100% confidently, I can say the problem is with the student. It's not, you cannot blame a faculty, or you cannot blame the resources, or you cannot blame the system. It's there as it is from a lot of years, and it will be there. So you can't change it like in an overnight. So it's really bad if people who really can't, put hard work or put some efforts will blame like this, and it's not absolutely true. And I definitely want you guys to understand that the real thing happening here is the students are not up to the mark, because they themselves are responsible for that. I'll tell you why they are responsible, and then how can they improve, right? So before doing that, we're gonna look at some other statistics here as well. This is also not my own statistics. Everything that I collected is from the data, and here is the source from where I collected this data. Although I've seen, I'm 100% sure without looking at this statistics, I can tell. But this is just for you again, the statistics. If you see the statistics, this one talks about the pay and basically usually the pay that product companies and versus the service companies pay in India. If you see, like most of the companies, they pay around like what, $400,000 to 600. It means like 4 to 6 lakhs, right? So, and then there are some companies which pay around 8 to 10, and some companies pay 12 to 14. So these are different kinds of companies in the market. But if you see, these are a lot of companies in the market. They're good companies, but if you see, 60% of the graduates are going to these companies where they pay less package, less salary, and this is true. This is true, and we have to agree. I think probably it'll be more than 60%. I was like more optimistic here, but definitely it is. There are a lot of people going into these companies, and then only 25% of these premier colleges, and more from premier colleges, people are working in these companies where they pay little bit more. And the rest of the companies, right, 15%, only 15%, almost everyone from the premier college will end up there. Almost everyone, very few people will go there from the normal college. So again, I'm telling, it's nothing to do with the college, it's nothing to do with the faculty. So I'm going to tell you good reasons why this thing is happening. I'll do that very shortly, but I just wanted to show you this data. And from this data, you can pretty much see that people are ending up in particularly this region, where they are going to end up getting very low salary. So you have to question yourself. This is the time to question yourself. Why am I not ending up in these companies which are paying more? Don't we need a big salary, or don't we need a big flexibility, or any other flexibilities that these companies offer? Of course, everyone needs that, right? But no one knows what to do if they wanted to end up in these companies, right? And most of the people are not aware of what these companies do and what these companies do, and what is the difference in the work style, or what is the difference in the pay, or what is the difference they are offering from the growth perspective, right? We'll talk about these things today, and this is one of the important thing that I want to talk about here. So we wanted to question ourselves looking at this data. So we have seen the metrics so far. The metrics are complaining that India doesn't have talent, and there are no quality software engineers coming out. And this metric shows already that which is proportional to whatever the metrics that we saw previous. So this says that most of the people are ending up in these kind of companies. I'm not relating a company is good or bad. What we want is what we should decide, right? Every company is good. They have their own. It's a good that a lot of companies, Indian-based companies, are employing. It's good. There's nothing bad in that. But is that what you need? You have to question yourself. That's what I'm saying here. So. Okay, so before I go to like what do you need, basically what you have to do to end up landing in these companies, even forget about these companies, right? You wanted to be successful. You wanted to be as a successful engineer wherever you go, whichever place you go. You wanted to be a successful engineer, and you have to follow certain things that if you wanted to be a successful engineer. But before going, what are we going to do about this? I'll talk a little bit about it. These are something are service-based companies which pay a little bit lesser salary, and these are product-based companies which pay more salary. So it doesn't mean that only 15% because 15% of graduates are going to this premier what are the product companies. It doesn't mean that they have less positions. So I'll tell you, I work for Amazon Web Services, AWS. It falls in the same 15% salary range, and we have around 80,000 of jobs open just now, just basically all through the world. It's basically, think about like, these are the companies basically who make products. Google Maps or whatever the product that you use are made by some of these companies. And if these guys have, these service-based companies will basically, kind of do some kind of service or some kind of consulting basis for these kind of products. Think about these things, right? If these guys have 50% of open positions. Think about these companies; they would even have more open positions. But irrespective of that, only 50% they are hiring. What is happening for 85% of the open positions? They are kept as open. This is the truth. We won't hire people if we think that they're not up to the mark or they don't have enough skills. We won't compromise on the talent, and that's why these companies are paying more. All these companies, including, so I'll tell about my experience. I work for Amazon Web Services, and we have, as I said, we have a lot of open positions, but we don't close those positions just because we got a hire. We need to make sure that whatever the candidate that's coming inside meets the bar for the position that he's getting interviewed, has the required skills, and then we'll hire. Otherwise, we'll just keep positions open. If there are 1,000 positions come up in a year, we just hire 100 people. All the others will be open. The reason is there's no talent. There's no talent, and we are not getting right people, right? So there are requirements. So there are requirements, and there are opportunities, and people, if you really work hard, you can land up here. So what do we have to do to end up here, and what is the thing that we wanted to learn, right? So we'll talk about here. First thing, I'm going to talk about a couple of things which are really needed here for an engineering graduate. And people always ask me a question like, when do we have to do this? I would say the correct time that you should learn these things is when you are in a graduation, when you are in a college. That's the correct time, because after you graduate, you will never get a chance to learn. Yeah. Yes, sir.
Sandeep, small interruption. There is a problem actually. So most of the attendees, they are getting response like maximum limit is over. So that's the reason why, yeah, attendees number is getting lost slowly.
Oh, okay.
Could you? Yeah.
Okay. Let me see if I can host a new meeting, sir. So by the way, I'm also recording this meeting. Like if there are someone basically who missed this, I will share the recording. But let me see if I.
Okay.
So I think it reached.
Actually, in the beginning, it is around 100 plus, Sandeep. Now
Okay,
it has come down to around 70. So we lost around 30 attendees as of now. Okay, no issue. You go ahead, carry on.
Yeah, I think what we'll do is, sir, we'll continue this session. But if there are some people, we'll share the recording, and then if it is needed, we'll do one more session again for the people who have missed this, sir. Does that sound right to you?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure, Sandeep.
Yeah. Looks like there's no scaling issue, but usually they basically restrict the number. Looks like. Okay. Yeah. So we'll talk about the skills that every student needs to gain here. So where am I? So okay. So before even this, a lot of people ask me a question like, does these companies or whatever the premier companies 15%? You'll see most of the people from IITs and NITs there. A lot of people have an opinion that they only hire IITs and NITs. That's a false. We hired people. I know we hired people who doesn't have a graduation degree. This is 100% true. We hire people from schools here who had done their schooling, dropped out graduates, but who has who had excellent problem coding solving skills. So again, if you think that these only people from IITs will end in these companies, that's again a false faith. Please don't be in that thing. Excuse me. Okay. So yeah, there are a lot of opportunities, and it's possible that anyone can get into. Think about me. I didn't do even my master's. I'm just a graduate student. I'm currently working in Amazon, so I can give myself as a live example. And I know a lot of people, how many people are working here, and how many people, like, I agree with this data. Like, I haven't seen it. Only like handful of people, not even like 3 or 4 people from at least 500 people passed out from our college, ending up in these kind of companies. But I know a few folks, I can talk about their names as well, who are working here. Very handful people, and what they did, I'll talk about in a bit here. So it's possible if you really work hard, if every one of you really work hard, it's possible that you can end up here. And then what is the right time to work hard? It's just now. It's just now. You have to start now, and you need the early you start, the sooner you will be successful, and the sooner you can finish off the things. So it's better if you start today. When you are in a college, you will have lots of time. Basically, at least I think you should be able to spend at least 1 hour a day on these things which I'm going to talk about, and definitely it will help you. So this is the right moment to start with. I would seriously suggest everyone, every student, to start with whatever I'm suggesting now. And then every faculty as well, to help them as much as they can. I know they're already helping, but please do help the students to get these things and to get them up to the mark on these things. So we'll talk about a couple of things. Maybe most of these terms are new to you folks. I know, like, you're not from computer science graduation, computer science background, but I'll talk about each thing here. Let's talk about first thing, right? What is that expected, the first bare minimum thing that a product company will expect in a student interviewing is problem solving skills. Believe me, guys, like, problem solving skills are really, really, really important. So it's basically like, it's a must, and if you are not able to solve the problems, and if you don't have those skills, it's really, I don't think that you are doing the right thing. So what are problem solving skills? It's just that you should have the ability to understand the problem. That's the first thing. The problem can be anything, as I told you, like, it can be a traffic lights, right? Or it can be just, when I talk about a problem, I'll talk about something which you all knows, right? All you guys know about a number series, as I said earlier, and you know about median, right? What is a median? It's just the top element and the floor element by 2. It's the middle element in a number series, right? There's a median. You have to find the middle element in a series of numbers, and it's very easy problem, you think, right? But believe me, that's a toughest computer science problem to solve with. Right? How about let's say if you have a number series where you don't know the max element and min element, you don't know what are the elements there. Do you think you would be able to find a median there? It's really hard. How much time you will take? Think about it. It's the hardest computer science problem that has been, like, there are a lot of scientists trying to solve that problem of finding the median in optimum time complexity. There's still a lot of research going on, right? So these are a very simple problem, right? There are a lot of real-time problems, and you have to understand the problem. You have to really understand the problem, and you have to have enough skills to solve that problem. At least you should be able to think through what is needed to solve that problem. And when you solve that problem, right, you don't need to really solve really complex problems at this moment. You are just graduates, right? You are just students, just like you must be studying the second year or third year of engineering. So what is my suggestion for you guys is solve small problems, right? Very, very small problems that anyone, even a 10th class guy can solve those problems. I know a person who works in China. He's 10 years old. He solved almost like 30 to 40,000 critical problems in LeetCode. There is a coding website. I'll show you. I'll share you next. He's just at 10 years of age. Think about it, and this is a fact. This is not something assumption. This is a fact, and I know that person. He's there in my LeetCode these things. So if those guys can solve the problems, why not you? You should improve the ability to solve problems, and you should improve the ability to understand, and you should improve the ability basically to correlate. When I say correlate, what does it mean, right? So you solve small problems today, right? And then you apply the solution to a bigger problems. That's what I mean correlate. When I say median, right, that's a very, very small problem. If you can find a solution for that median, optimal, finding a median in an unknown number series and optimum time, you can use that small thing in a very, very big, solving very big computer science problems. That's a small problem, right? So you have to understand that, you have to solve that, and you have to basically correlate that and use that solution to solve a bigger problem, right? You should have that, you should get that ability and improve that ability. So this is one of the skill that I would like basically students to have to. And then make it a habit. I know people just give it up. When I say these things, people are really enthusiastic. They'll really jump into in the next day, and within a few days, right, they'll give it up. They won't care. They won't keep the pace, because you know, when someone tells you something, you'll be always enthusiastic. You wanted to jump in and try, right? But you have to keep the pace forever. Otherwise, you're not going to be successful. Make it a habit. Make it a habit. I think you all, I just kept this, like, you brush a day, eat every day, right? Then you have to solve problems every day. You can't basically stay without brushing. It's not possible. If you make it as a habit, make solving problems as a habit. Please, no excuses on this. If you really wanted to be successful, don't take any excuses. And the other thing is, like, other suggestion that I give you, I know some problems are hard. If you sit alone, you know, you'll get bored and you'll get frustrated and you don't want to solve, and a lot of people will give up. My best suggestion for those kind of people is make a team. Make a team. I know this is a college, right? You have a lot of friends. Make a team of 4 or 5 people. Team between yourself. When you have a team, right? It boosts your knowledge a lot. And whenever you are stuck or something like that, seek help from the fellow team member. You solve it as a team, and that's how you basically grow your knowledge. Trust me. Please make a practice of making a team yourself. Like, you can make a team of 5 people between yourself, and you can start solving the problems. We'll talk about a lot of things here: how to solve the problems, what are the problems to solve it, and how are those problems, the small problems, are related to the real world. We'll talk about that. But for now, remember that you have to solve problems and you have to make it as a habit. There's no other go, no excuses. That's it. And then the second thing is coding, right? As I said, coding is just nothing but a tool to express solutions. I told you about real-time problems. I told you about anything, right? For example, if you wanted to program a cathode ray oscilloscope, there is a processor inside that. What you need to know is, you just need to know the microcontroller, whatever the chip that is there inside the CRO, right? If you just understand that, you can pretty well, if you know what it does for the instructions, you can pretty well do it in a coding. You can do an assembly language coding, right? It doesn't have to be Java or C++. So coding, my perspective, is just a tool. Just a tool. You have to improve the knowledge. You have to know the ideas, how to solve the problem. Then you can turn it into the code. That's it. So the coding is just a tool. Don't get stuck on that for months and years. So I know people do they do coding for 3 years, and they say, I'm being very frank, right? I did my C programming in first year of engineering. I didn't realize the importance of that. I just mucked up some of the programs, and this is the fact. Right? I know you all guys will do the same thing, but please, please, please don't do that. You don't need to learn 10 languages, right? Just one is enough. It's just a tool, right? Whether you have, if you wanted to hit someone, whether you have a hammer or a stick or a rope, something, it doesn't matter. You just need a tool. So treat coding as a tool, and you have to know the basics of coding. Don't spend too much time there. Learn whatever is required to solve the problems. That's it. Some of the things which I feel it's required is any language, whatever. These concepts are same in any language. Functions, loops, conditional statements, recursion. You see, that's a bold. I bolded it. It's because such an important, powerful technique, right? Exception handling, basic data types. All these concepts you can pretty much learn in 3 days, or a week. If you have done your C course in your first year of engineering, you will not need like more than 3 days to know about these concepts. It's very easy, very easy. So you can do that. Don't get stuck on the coding for years or months, not even weeks, just 1 or 2 weeks. You need to know about these basic things because you need to write code, right? A basic code, just a simple basic code you wanted to write, and these things are needed, and it's pretty easy. You can learn easily. And when you write coding, that means when you really solve problems that we are going to discuss in our plan, what are we going to do next, right? Practice to write bug-free code. Don't just concentrate on logic, right? So when I say don't just concentrate on logic, when you are designing a program for, again, traffic signals, don't just concentrate on traffic, right? Don't just concentrate on cars or buses or motor vehicles. There are people who will be walking in between, who wanted to walk. That is something you have to keep in mind, right? Always you have to keep it in mind. And you need to basically have a product. That's what I mean by production ready code, right? Bug free, production ready code, thinking about all the other edge cases. Simple example, if I give you a number series and if I ask you to find a median again, and you have to make that program work for all kind of numbers, right? If I give you a floating point decimal numbers, if it doesn't work, then it makes no point. It makes no point. So that is something that you have to improve, that you need to think about all the edge cases when you are writing something. Please practice to write bug-free code. It's not something it will come over a time. This is not a magic, dude. I'm saying very seriously, this is not a magic. It will happen, and you have to believe in yourself, and it will happen. It will happen over the time. You just have to be a little bit patient, and you just have to do. That's it. Let's talk about data structures, right? You need to know problem solvings, and you need to know coding. I said coding is just a tool if you want to solve problems. Data structures, right? Okay, why do you want to really solve a problem, right? First of all, why is the problem existing? Because there is a data, right? There's a huge data. Without data, there is no problem, right? If there is no data, no problem, no algorithms, no coding, nothing. Because there is a vast amount of data, that's where you need a data structure to preserve that data. Think about a real-time situation, right? Today we are dealing with the COVID situation. If some of the administrative officer wanted to send out masks for all the people in the country, he wanted data. How many people are suffering with COVID cases? What is the amount? What are the male, females? What is the age? How many people are there in the world? All this data he need. Otherwise he can't really solve that problem, right? You need to have data. And if you have a lot of data, and which is fact, there's a lot of data. World is data, right? And you need to have some kind of structure to persist that data, to store the data. Like you need to have a wallet or a purse. You say, where if you wanted to preserve your money, right? Without money, there is no wallet, and vice versa, right? Without wallet, you can't preserve the money, right? Treat a data structure like your wallet, like your purse, right? Where you can preserve your money. Here the money is data, right? So you need to know about data structure, because there is a lot of data. If you don't know about data structure, you can't solve the problem. So you need to know about data structures, minimum data structures. I'm not asking you to swim across the ocean, right? There are many all these things are possible, and I did it. A lot of people are doing it, right? So that's where the importance of data structures I wanted to emphasize here. Like world is data. So if there is no data, no problems, no solutions. That's it. Right. And the simple data structures that you guys wanted to know about, right? As I said, I'm not asking you to swim across the ocean. Arrays. If you have done your C programming in your first year, everyone must have known arrays. Arrays is a very, very simple primitive data structure that most of you guys know. Right? If you wanted to store numbers, first data structure that you'll pick is arrays. Right? So the second thing is trees, lists, set, stack, heap. I'm not going to dive deep into these data structures, because that will be a separate session completely. Those are really that they need, each of these data structure needs at least 20-25 minutes. But as you know, arrays, right? It's just a data structure to store numbers. These are similar data structures. Computer science uses these data structures for solving various types of problems, needing requirement. Based on the requirement, you use a data structure, right? So these are some of the data structures you need to know in a graduate level, right? And it's very easy to know how much time you need to know these data structures. I'll tell you, a month or two. If it is someone like who doesn't even know ABCD, they probably like 3 months. That's a max. That's a max. But you will need probably 20 days to a maximum, at a maximum of 3 months, to know about these data structures. Right? That's a maximum. I would say it won't even take 1.5 months. But yeah, that's a maximum. There are very real big data structures. These are advanced data structures. Please feel free to skip them. Don't even worry about these things, because you don't need that for cracking the interview. You don't need that. These are a real-time data structures. I know you all know Google search, right? It's implemented based on the data structure called compress try. That's the data structure they use basically to think about Google search, right? How much data it's processing. It's so complex service. It's using a try. So you don't need to know about how Google search operates. You don't need to read about compressed tries. But please read about these data structures, which are enough for graduation level. As I said, it's easy. It's doable. Let's talk about algorithms, right? So what are algorithms? We have seen like what are problems, what is coding. Coding is a tool. What is data structure? It's a container to store data. And what are algorithms? Okay, so now you have a data structure. You have a data inside that. You need to have a standard logic to do something on the data, right? For example, right? So I would say, I coming back to your wallet problem, like you have a wallet, you have money in that. So where you have data and you have a data structure, you need to have some kind of mechanism. Basically, I mean, here you use your hand to count the money. Some kind of standard thing. Here I would say counting the money, right? Counting, that's an algorithm, right? That's an algorithm. That's an action that you do on the data inside a data structure. Here you do a counting on a money, which is data inside wallet, right? So you need to know about standard algorithms. I told you about a problem called median, right? There is a number series and you wanted to find a median. There are a lot of algorithms. I said there's research, a lot of research went on there. There are a lot of algorithms finding a median in the constant time, or there's no constant time. It's basically a logarithmic time, which is like a best time complexity. There are algorithms to do that, right? There are some standard algorithms you have to learn, basically, which is needed. Otherwise, you can't really, for example, I give you a number series. If you wanted to sort the number series in an order, otherwise you can't find a median, right? If you wanted to sort it, you need to have some algorithm. There is some logic. Please learn about some logics, basic logics. Again, I'm not asking you to learn about all the algorithms. There are a lot of algorithms here in the world. You will never learn all the algorithms. Very standard algorithms such as searching, sorting, sum, divide and conquer. Okay. Again, I'm saying, please ignore this DP and greedy. Okay. Those are not for you. Please learn these things. Basic algorithms: searching, sum, divide and conquer. Very simple algorithms. Read about them. Understand. Try to understand. Very simple. Again, how much time this take? Probably maybe, I would say, if you really understand, I would say 15 days, 15 to 1 month, 15 days to 1 month. That's it. Okay. So you need algorithms. Without this, you can't operate on data structures. You can't solve problems. So all these are correlated. These are all interrelated. And as a graduate, you need to know all these things. You need to know all these things, and trust me, those are easy to learn. Not a big problem. I'll tell you what is the toughest thing here is solving the problems, because you have to solve as many problems as you can, right? Otherwise, you are not going to get expertise. First problem, when you solve the first problem, you will see, oh my God, what did this guy say? He asked me to solve this problem. I had a hard time even understanding this. I am pretty much sure 80% of you will treat like, what did Sandeep say? I mean, is he joking or something like that? You will feel like that when you solve the first problem. But as I said, guys, please don't give up, right? I didn't give up. I didn't give up. So I solved almost like you say just a random, probably 3,000 to 4,000 problems. But you don't need to do all those things. It's just that I might be a little bit late in learning. You might be quicker than me. You can grasp the things pretty much faster. If you solve 100 problems, you might be able to apply those 100 solutions to 1,000 problems, right? So there is no definitive count on the number of problems that you have to solve. It's up to you. It's up to as you comfortable, as you get expertise on those, solve the problems. I'll tell you what are the problems, what are the data. I told you already, data structures, these things, what you have to learn. But we'll talk about problems. Where is the source? Where do you get the data? All those things I will talk about in the next slide. But please don't give up at any point of time. Believe me, once you master this, you're gonna play with them. You're gonna play with them seriously. You're gonna solve real-time problems. It's like you'll really become mad on algorithms like I am, right? I'm a very passionate algorithm. I love to solve real-time problems, right? Because the reason is I solved a lot of problems. I got into it. I'm interested there. I got a lot of interest, right? It's just nothing. I'm not born talent. I told you, I'm like you all, you guys. I studied in the same college, same department, everything, right? It's just that I did some hard work, and I did lately because I did this after my graduation. That's why I'm taking this session. If you do it as part of your graduation, you will soon success pretty much earlier than me. Right? It took for me, I'll tell you my timeline. It took around like 1.5 years for me to get expertise on this. Right? You have 4 years, right? You can probably you can get very well expertise. You can gain more expert on this than me. So it's quite possible. Okay. So let's talk about some of the important resources, guys. Very important. Please do concentrate on this, right? We all know our CRR College of Engineering has a library, digital library. I don't know how many people have gone there. I know there is something called NPTEL. This website is there. I don't know how many people know these things. Probably, I think some of the people know. But when I studied 10 years back, and that's the time we initially opened the digital library. The library was opened just, I think, during my batch. Okay, so it was such an amazing gift that you guys have. You don't need to spend a single rupee on that, right? You just have to go and you just have to spend time there, right? So important. Explore digital library, explore the books there. I'll tell you something, right? Don't stick on to the notes that you write in the classes, right? You need more, as I said, you need more data. The more data that you have, it's good, right? Go study books in the library. I'm not asking you to study all the books in the library. It's impractical. I'll tell you my example. I'm passionate about electrical machines. Till now, I remember how to calculate a step angle for a stepper motor. Seriously, I haven't studied machines after my graduation. It's 10 years back, but now I remember that. The reason is, right, I still remember that book, Thereja, I think, right? I studied the whole book completely. I studied 2 or 3 books on machines. I'm such a passionate on electrical machines, right? But I got very less marks. That's fine. But I have a lot of data about. If you ask me about stepper motor, I can tell you like 100 pages of data just on the stepper motor, right? Simple thing. So I would ask you, not just on coding on anything, right? Whatever you are interested with. For example, if you are interested in antennas, if you are interested in digital communication or something like that, just go to the library and study. This NPTEL Write videos, such an amazing site. I can point you to a lot of sites. There is a Stanford University site, but you don't need all those things, guys. This is more than enough. Actually, there is a very good algorithms here. Introduction to Data Structures by Naveen Garg. He's from IIT Delhi, right? These videos I saw 10 years back. This website was very primitive stage. It's not even basically well equipped, right? Now, if you see that website, it's super seriously. They've improved a lot over the last 10 years. When I found this website, it's a very primitive state. But I'm fortunate enough, I thank really God and our government of MHRD, Indian government for this website. And this is one of the starting point for me. I studied this Introduction to Data Structures by Naveen Garin, IIT Delhi. Again, I'm telling you, you don't need to blame faculty again, as the other guy did in the other video, right? You can go, if you really wanted to know about, something, explore something, go look into this nptel.ac.in. There are videos hosted by IIT, including mathematics, every subject, mechanical, engineering, electronics, whatever, everything is there here. Just go, explore that, explore more knowledge, have more data. As I said, you don't need to expertise on multiple things. It's not practically possible. But make it as a habit. That's what I would say. Okay, let's talk about, so please make a habit of going to the digital library and exploring this NPTEL. Very, very good. You must do. And you have to start on these videos, guys. Introduction to Data Structure. Look at those videos. It's easy to watch, right? You can just you can sleep. If you sleep again, you can watch again, right? I know a lot of people do that, but it's so important, those videos. And then I said the problem solving, right? Where do you get all the questions from? A lot of people know all this data, but I'm again reiterating this. So you get problems from here. This is the site where you will find problems, a lot of problems. You can pick as many as until you can keep solving the problems for next 50 years. There are a lot of problems there which are enough for next 50 years, right? You don't need to solve all those things. As I told you, in the world, right, solutions are very few. When I say solutions, standard solutions, those are implemented or those are found by researchers are very, very few. But if you take the problems, a lot of problems are there, right? So the solutions are very few. If you learn those few solutions, you have to apply those few solutions to a bigger set of problems. So there will be a lot of questions in this website which are repetitive. So don't worry looking at those questions. You don't need to solve everything, right? You just have to solve some of the things. I'll tell you there is a separate slide on the plan, what you have to do, but this is about resources. You can find problems here. You can find data structure, good data structure videos here. Read about, go through those videos, and if you are interested in any other subject, right? So basically, my intention is you have to improve your think big abilities, right? You have to think big. How to think big is if you explore, keep exploring the data as you get more data, you understand things. That's where you start thinking big. If you don't explore the data, you'll never be able to think big, right? So the reason I'm asking you to watch any videos in NPTEL, if you are interested about antennas, go watch about antennas right here, because it has very good, lot of good content. Okay, these things are optional. I did these things, but these are optional for you. I don't want to overload you, but these things are easily doable. Whatever is required, please do the required things. It's very, very easy. It's doable. And these are very good books. If you guys were computer science experts, I would suggest you to go and read this, Thomas H. Carman. I know even computer science graduates won't read this, because I've seen a lot of people, computer science graduates, just read notes. They'll never get to know, a bigger picture from the notes. Please, you can still write the notes, but yeah, try to get a bigger picture. Try to read some of the textbooks, for gathering more data. So these are some of the resources. I'll share you these links with you. I'll share this PowerPoint presentation. Please, you can get the resources. You can now follow the plan that we are going to talk about in the next few slides. Right. Okay, so there is one more slide. Let's talk about the plan, right? What is the plan? That, okay, now you know where is the data. Now you know where are the problems. Now you know where to get the knowledge. And we all agree that we need to work on these things. Because if you agree or don't agree, there are metrics which already I showed you, right? These are metrics. This says you can go to read about these articles. So you have to agree. right? And then for folks who really wanted to work on these things, I would say everyone has to work on this, but please develop your interest towards this. So this is the plan for you guys. So I made the plan myself for like years back, like 10 years back. I did it like for 1.5 years, right? But this is the plan. When you start from today. Start from today. You don't need to do like spend multiple hours or something like that. I'm pretty much sure you all guys watch Facebook for at least 30 minutes a day, right? So you avoid that. And better you spend that 30 minutes on this. I would say at least 1 hour in 2 days. 1 hour in 2 days or 1 hour in a day if you can. Please spend on this. Or if you don't find during weekdays, that's fine. Weekend, Saturday, Sunday is completely free, right? You spend 6 hours during Saturday and Sunday, which is 3 hours Saturday, 3 hours Sunday. That is good enough. And no one can swim the ocean in a day, dude. If you wanted to swim the ocean, I would say, or swim something which is bigger, right? Not really the ocean. Like, you have to start ahead. You need to you need to give it a shot, and you need to give it enough time. Otherwise, you're not gonna get expertise. You'll get frustrated. Believe me. So you have to start ahead. And all the people like still have chances. The first year, second year, third year engineering students, including the final year engineering students, I will suggest this. Please start with this plan. Start doing this. First you start learning the coding basics. As I said, what to learn the coding basics. These are in the previous slide. As I said, functions, loops, right? The data is there. So I just put everything in one slide because I don't want to, it should be simple for you. So you can gather all the data from this slide. And let me just. Okay, start learning with coding basics. As mentioned, don't get stuck forever. I know a lot of people ask me, what language should I learn? This is one of the famous questions that I get. Any language, you learn assembly language, people are fine with it. No one looks at a language perspective. They look at your problem solving skills. If you are really able to solve the problems, irrespective of whatever you know the language, right? A person, if you are able to solve the problem, you can code in C, C++. That's just nothing, a tool, and you can learn in very few days. So don't stuck with coding. Any language is fine, whichever interests you. It can be a C, C++, Java, Python, R, Ruby, anything. Right? So just learn coding, very minimum coding basics, which I documented in my previous slide, and then start with that. Okay, now you know the coding basics. Okay, if I tell you like basically write just a small code to find a number in a given set of numbers, you should be able to do that if you know the coding basics, right? So once you do this, how much time you take? As I said, like it takes probably 3 days, not more than 3 days, or maybe you take 1 week. So after 1 week, you start on the second thing, right? Be comfortable with writing code, dude. This is so important. If you're not able to write the code, it's like you're not able to present your idea. I had something in my mind. I have to talk to you. I have to present it. I need to have some kind of tool to present it. Otherwise, even though if I have the idea, it doesn't make much difference, right? So comfortable writing code, right? Start with basic searching and sorting techniques. This is what I talked about in algorithms, right? In my previous slide, if you look at the algorithms, I will talk about searching and sorting techniques. Learn those minimum things. Those are very easy, right? Probably you need searching and sorting techniques. Probably you need a couple weeks or more, 3 weeks. It's fine. Or even if you take a month or more than that is fine, but it's doable. Okay, now you know some kind of basic sorting and searching techniques. Why do you need this is because now you know the code. So I give you some data, you know the code, right? And if you wanted to know, you need to learn some basic algorithms on that. That's why I'm asking you to learn the searching sorting techniques. Once you are done with number 2, this is in order basically. So come to number 3. What is number 3? Learn about basic data structures. Again, what are the basic data structures? It's there in my previous slide. Go back and learn about data structures required for a graduate level. And you can easily do this by watching NPTEL videos. I'm not suggesting you to read the Computer Science Bible, which is Thomas H. Corman. I suggested earlier, right? It's there in my previous slide. You don't need to read all those things. This is just videos, right? Simple as you guys watch movies. It's a simple. So you can watch multiple times if you don't get it. So don't try to complete all the videos at a time, right? Just follow this iterative process. You have to, as I said, you can't swim the ocean in a day, right? So follow this iterative process. There might be 30 videos, right? Initially, you just watch, for example, let's go through this thing, whatever I have written here. Learn few data structures, whatever one data structure. Learn about array, think about an array. How do you learn? You watch these videos, you will learn about data structures in array. If you don't like these videos, there are a lot of other sources. Even the Geeks for Geeks, they have some other sources. But these videos are really good. So you watch those videos, learn about a basic data structure called array. Now, you know the data structure. You already finished this searching and sorting techniques. So you know some kind of algorithms there. Okay, so you know coding. So now you solve related problems by writing the code on a paper. Geeks for Geeks, I told you, right? You find a problem somewhere here. So this one, this is where you find the problems. Start with the problems with the array, right? Hold on just a second. Start with the problems on the array. Solve the related problems slowly. Just take a simple problem, right? And try to solve it. You might find hard because it's the first problem that you are solving, right? When you do it, write your logic on the paper. Just write it in the naive instructions. You don't need to really write 100% code, right? Just write your approach. How do you want to solve the problem? Write it on a paper. Write the code on a paper. That's the first thing that you have to do. And the second thing, I'm not sure I have written the code. I'm not sure how it works really, right? So copy paste your code. You can write in a Word document. You can copy paste that code in an integrated developer environment. When I say integrated developer environment, it's a IDE you call. There are free IDEs available. Eclipse is an IDE for Java. Visual Studio is an IDE for C++. Python has its IDE. And Perl has its IDE. There are a lot of IDEs. What those will help you is to debug the code, whether you are writing a right code or not. Probably if you don't know debugging, it's very simple. I don't have links here, but it's very simple. Just explore it, just Google it, how to debug a so-and-so code in so-and-so IDE. You can get it. All the thing you wanted to put is put a breakpoint in your debugger and it will break there. If you are not sure what is happening at that particular line, just put a breakpoint there, it will break there. And then you can explore what is happening there. So before even that, put it in the IDE. And then once you are comfortable writing it on the paper, put it on the IDE, then debug that. As I said, the big thing everyone has to remember is team, dude. Team. Friends, this is really important. Without team, you will get really frustrated. I used to solve problems with one of my friend. So although I did like my own, but when you do it with the team, right, there are some mistakes you will never catch and the other person will catch in your code. That's so important for learning, right? You at the end of the day, you wanted to write a productive code. You want to come up with the ideal algorithm. As I said, coming back to your traffic signal problems, you write a code for 6-road junction for traffic signals, and someone can find out if you put this traffic signal in an 8-road junction, it won't work. He can find out that mistake, right? So it's so important team to discuss, right? So when you write this a problem, when you solve a problem, discuss it with the team at the end of the day. Okay, sit together, 5 people, you discuss it with them. So this is what the code I have written. All 5 people, you exchange your code and you see what is mistake in each other's code. Try to correct it. Always land on the best algorithm, right? So you wanted to learn about best case. When I say best case, it's how much time your code takes, right? If it is taking a logarithmic time, it's not best, right? If it's taking linear time, it's good. If it's taking constant time, it's pretty good, excellent, right? You have to come up with the best case. So you can read about it's just when I say linear time, logarithmic time, it's just nothing but your nth term in your exponential series. So let's say n is your input. You calculate Tn in a logarithmic series. You calculate the same nth term in the exponential series. That's nothing but your total time complexity taken for your algorithm. So if you wanted to go read about big O notation, you really don't need to. You know, you all know about a number series, right? You know how to calculate the nth term. You can easily calculate the time required for an algorithm. So do this in an iterative. Okay, now I am completed one thing. I watched array, I solved problems on the array, and keep solving. Don't solve too many problems. You don't need probably 20 problems or 10 problems. Fine, go for the next data structure. So now you know about array, go for next data structure. Take another data structure, linked list, solve problems on that. Next, take in another data structure, tree, solve problems on that. Like take in another data structure, heap, solve problems on that. And now, if you see any problem, you will be able to apply the solutions that you have done earlier. You will be able to apply the solutions that you have done for array to tree. It's quite possible. As I said, solutions are very few. Problems are a lot of problems are there. You can apply the solution basically to a tree. You can apply the solution, array solution to a graph. It's quite possible. And where when you are able to do such an application, right? That's what I said. Correlate the small problem with the big problem. Then you can say, then okay, I am on the path. I'm on the right track, right? So that's where you have to. This process is iterative. Just do it as much as you can, and start with just solving 10 problems. Once you finish complete like multiple data structures, array, list, tree, some other data, then come back and solve more problems. Keep solving more problems, right? This is iterative. This is a never-ending process, dude. And friends, believe me, I solve problems even today. Even today, I solve problems. It's just my passion. I solve problems. There is no absolute need for me, but I do. That's my passion. And I do want you guys to cultivate that habit from today. And then these are the main three things. This is our plan. Probably I don't have a definitive timeline for this, but make it for a year or for 6 months, up to you. And it's fine even if it takes a little bit more, but just be patient. And it's gonna work. It's gonna work. And I can give you real-time examples, right? So think big, dive deep, start with simple problems. Don't take a dynamic programming problem array, programming problem at the first attempt. You're gonna really feel bad, because I'm pretty much sure you guys will not be able to solve it. If you are not able to solve it, go for a simple problem. Simple problem. Start with simple problems. As you go solve those simple problems, slowly, you will gain expertise. You will gain confidence. You will be able to say that, yes, I can do this. If you just start with a dynamic programming problem, then you're gonna say, oh man, I'll leave it at this stage. I'll not be able to do. A lot of people tell me these things, but that's a wrong approach. If you are stuck in such a state, just ping me. I have my contact details. I'll tell you good suggestions to follow. But please don't give up. Don't give up. This is possible. This is just possible with practice. And you're gonna believe. You guys, you have to have belief in you. If you never believe that you will end up working with Google, then you are not going to solve the problems. That's it. It's just like you are degrading yourself. You just have to believe that it's possible, right? It's possible. I did that. And today I know a lot of people have done that. Right? It just comes with the practice, and you have to believe that you can do, and you will gain that confidence slowly as you solve slowly simple problems, and you take the complex problems. You'll do that. The fifth thing is like never ever give up. Never ever give up. This is my advice. I told you a couple of times in this presentation, but please, friends, don't give up at any point of time. Believe yourself. That's the important key. And if you get frustrated, just take a break. Go for a coffee. Don't do it for 2 days. Start again after 2 days. But don't give up. It's part of your life, and you should never give up some things, even if you are frustrated, right? And we don't give up on some things in our day-to-day life. Take a break. This is the plan for you. You can plan accordingly. Feel free to ask any questions. This is all that I wanted to share with you guys. I know that this is a little bit a longer presentation, but I wanted to ensure that you guys understand what I'm talking about. Really, I wanted to get I wanted to make sure that you guys understand, and you guys wanted to practice this. If you don't want to practice, let me know what is the difficulty, and you think that what can we make simpler, basically for you to practice it, right? So this is all I have for today. But if you have any doubts on data structure, these are things which will take a long time. I can't cover the details on the data structures or the coding best practices at this session, but I'm giving you a lot of information in this presentation where you can take and make use of that. I'm happy to answer any questions if you have, but this one I just kept it because I know a lot of people give up. I'm telling you multiple times. I know a lot of people give up, and that is the fact. And why the metrics are so low, right? That's why people are not able to crack big interviews, because people give up. They get scared, right? No one is asking you to break rocks. It's just they are asking you to learn code, which is nothing. You just have to practice. You have to start from the first step. You will definitely reach the end of all the steps, right? So please don't give up. It's a very simple thing that you have to do. It's very simple. Trust me, I did it. And yeah, so I'm open to any questions. That's all I have for today.
Okay, fine. Any queries, students? Please ask your queries. Feel free to ask your queries. Dear faculty and students, if you want to ask your query, please unmute yourself.
Sir, I want to ask one question, sir. Madhav Rao. Hello.
Sure, sir. Yeah.
Sir, some of the students having the technical knowledge and logical thinking and everything, but their main problem is they are not supposed to expose. So in the campus selections or anything, the skills is very important, but that person having less skills but having the most talented fellow. So I think
Right.
as per my experience, I think some of the students having the most talent and skillful, but they are not supposed to express. So that's why some of the people may not getting the chance in the campus placements. So is
Yes.
it right thing?
So that's a pretty good question, sir. Thanks for asking this. So I'll answer your question.
Please unmute. Please mute others. Please mute yourself, others. Just listen to Sandeep answer.
That's correct, but we can't take that as that. That's not the only reason. I think we have to.
Hello, all of you. Please mute yourself. I request all of you mute yourself, please.
Yeah. So to understand your question, let me repeat the question. So you said there are a lot of people who has inbuilt talent and very good skills, but they're not able to expose them during the interviews, and you think this is the main reason for having a lesser count, sir? Is that the question, sir, Madhav garu? Okay. Yeah. So I'll answer the question. That might be one of the reason, definitely, but that's not the only reason. That might be one of the reason people end up, doing, less in these kind of companies. But the thing is, that's not the only reason, and we can't take that as an excuse. Really, probably maybe a 5% of students might not be able to expose themselves whatever they had in that in their mind. Probably I agree with that on 5%, but a bigger picture, right? So there are a lot of other things basically lacking here. So one thing I see is let's think about these things, sir. I've seen people, even after working a couple of years in some companies, they will not be able to make up in these product companies. So I'm pretty much sure after maybe during the college graduation, they might not have enough skills to expose themselves, whatever they had in their mind. But I'm pretty much sure after working for a couple of years, they'll definitely should be able to expose the skills that they have in their mind. But my perception is that I've seen people who are not able to do that even after a couple of years coming to the work industry. The reason is my evaluation is basically they didn't practice the basics. They don't they really don't know what they wanted to have, what is required. That's one of the major reason that I see. Does that answer your question, sir?
No, sir. No, sir. It's a clear.
All of you, please make sure that your audio is muted. Other than who wants to ask the question, please. Any more questions? Any more queries, please? Any questions, please? Okay, so if you want to hesitate asking questions, you can contact Sandeep. So I think Sandeep, let us close this session.
Sure, sir. Let me just tell you one last thing before I close this session. If you guys have any questions, feel free to contact me or Ravikumar sir. And one last thing that I wanted to share. I know people will ask, definitely. So this is the thing, right? People will say that these premier companies are not coming to our college. That might be a question for most of the people. A lot of people will say Microsoft is not hiring from our campus, right? That shouldn't be again a reason, friends. So see, Microsoft conducts basically a program where if you really have the skill, right, you can get hired. So there is a program in Microsoft where you can basically subscribe for, and when they see that your resume has data structures, algorithms, problem solving, right, they will come to you. They will come to you. It's just that you're not getting the resource at that point. It doesn't mean that you're not getting a resource in the market. Right? You can directly contact the Microsoft recruitment, and you can basically contact them with your resume. I know a lot of people got hired like that, right? So you can pretty much do that. Please reach out to me if you have some of those doubts, saying that how can I know data structures? Okay, I have the problem skill ability. Just forward your resume to me. Or I'll tell you whatever the company that you wanted to apply. So I will tell you the way. There are links. You can go to their job portal. You can reach out to their LinkedIn HR profiles. You can contact them. You can basically send out. But they are going to see if you have the real talent or not. You just have to first work on brushing up your skills, and don't take that as an excuse that Microsoft is not coming to our campus, and that's why I'm not getting hired. That's not the true thing, and I don't accept with those things, friends. Yeah, that's all I have. Like, if you guys don't have any questions, we can close this. And please feel free to, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to Ravikumar sir, or you can email me as well. My details are there in this presentation.
Okay, Kailan sir, do you want to share anything? Yes, madam.
Sir, is it audible, sir? Hello.
Yeah, yes, madam. Yeah, please go ahead.
Sir, here most of the EC students are feeling that why the companies are expecting the same thing from ECE as well as CSE. So they are feeling that how we can be perfect in that questionnaire given by companies, which is the same as that for CSE students also. So they are feeling somewhat inferiority, sir.
Sure. Definitely, that's a
So
very good question, madam. Yeah, go ahead, madam.
okay. That is the most of the EC, even they are very good at technical. So they are feeling that how the same question paper we and CSE students can answer. How the companies are expecting this, sir.
That's
Can
a
you
good.
please motivate the students in this side, sir?
Uh, Definitely. That's a really
Okay.
good question, madam. So, as I said earlier, right? Computer science companies or the product companies, they, they just want talent. They want people who can solve the problem. They don't really care about ECE, CSE, or anything. You need to be a very good problem solver. So for example, I'll tell about the recruitment in Amazon, the company that I work for. So we do interview people from 10th class, and we do interview people who are dropped out graduates in United States. And we don't really see whether he is a CSE, masters. I know people who is from business background who do coding here. So irrelevant. The coding interview is same for everyone. So as I said again earlier, so the world is problems, and you have software basically in electronics, mechanical, whichever, all the fields require software. And companies who are particularly, like, for example, if the company which makes a CAD software, right, a CAD product software which is only mechanical, they look for only mechanical people. They expect mechanical knowledge, but on the top of that, the common thing that they expect from all the students is problem solving, data structure. That's the first thing that any graduate needs to have if you wanted to get into any product company. On the top of that, they will see whether you have electronics knowledge or mechanical knowledge, whether you fit in the role or doesn't fit in the role. That's a whole different point of thing. But the first thing is, which is common across everyone, is a problem solving, a coding, algorithms. If you don't meet that, you can't really, I'm pretty much sure you can't really hit the product companies. I'm pretty much sure, 100%. So this, again, I'm emphasizing that you shouldn't blame the companies basically for they are expecting the same thing from computer science or the ECE student, because they will expect, because that's what they want. Any product companies, for example, if you guys go, if any of the person goes interview for Google, they expect basically for problem solving, coding skills. Not just Google, any product company, 99% of the product companies. And with the trend that I have seen, service companies are following here. I've seen TCS asking data structure algorithmic questions to a couple of my friends. So because they are slowly evolving, right? They also need this. So this is the future, and everyone has to learn. No exception, no excuses. And this is. I hope this answers your question, madam.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
So everyone has to be motivated. You are going to a software company, and you can't say that I'm an easy background.
Kailan sir, do you want to ask any? My dear sir. Kailan sir, unmute yourself.
Are you okay now?
Yeah, yes, sir. I could hear you.
So, okay, everything went well, sir. Just you can, Dr. Roy Kumar, sir, you can give the conclusion marks. No special thing from me. Hello.
I think his network got disconnected, sir. Okay, that's fine. But I hope this session was helpful for you guys. Probably it might be too long. Probably you might think it's a boring or anything. But that's absolutely fine. But what I strongly insist you is to have this plan and practice this, each and every student, and have a team work within yourself and have this plan. And I'm pretty much sure you're gonna come back to me and say, this is superb. I'm 100% sure on this. But a lot of people feel boring, or probably they might not understand initially. But please, be patient and practice this. That's what I would say to each and every student here. Thanks all for bearing with me. Yeah, sir.
Okay.
Sir,
So
sir,
my
one more
Sandeep,
question, sir.
yeah.
Sir,
Okay.
one more
Okay,
question,
Madhav
sir.
sir, go ahead.
Sir, suppose if a student develop the assembly language, then what about the future?
That's fine, sir. That's completely fine. As I said, language is just a tool. So any language that you, for example, if you talk about C++ or C or Java language, anything, right? At the end of the day, it's going to interact with the operating system or the hardware or the processor that you call Intel Core processor, which understands assembly language. So if I write a C++ code, it's basically, it will get translated, it will get disassembled into assembly instructions, which the processor can understand. So language is just a tool to express your ideas. So it's fine. It's totally fine if you're able to, write a code in assembly language. It's really good. But again, you have to remember some things are a little bit difficult. If I ask you to write a solution in assembly language, it will be difficult. But it will be more easy in a higher languages like C, C++. So, but definitely, as I said, language is just a tool. It's nothing is barrier. If you just know one language, that's fine. All that you need to know is how to solve a problem. So, and I can say from my experience, right? I came from an electronics background, from electronics and instrumentation department, and I work in a team who does core computer science. Not even a graduates from computer science work in certain area. I work on an area called virtualization, which deal with the hardware and Windows kernel, basically underlying hardware, where everything is assembly language.
Kailan sir, it's your turn.
Yes. Are you okay now, sir?
Yeah. Okay. Come on, sir, speak.
Okay. Now, Mr. Sandeep had really hit the point which actually the students required. I think that, and now it is the time for the students to make themselves a plan to go ahead to get the jobs, and with the help of our staff, definitely will help them to plan accordingly what the Sandeep said. So this lecture went well. Congratulations to Sandeep. It's very useful to the student community. Okay, sir. Now it's my